Hey there, welcome to the podcast. In this interview series, I interview Brandon Voss. And if you haven't seen the previous episodes, go back, check out the podcast, search Zach Calhoun Podcast, subscribe, and go back to the first episode where you can hear the entire interview where Brandon unlocks and reveals all his steps in his process as a professional real estate photography team. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe, shoot us a review, and let's get to the interview. This episode is brought to you by CloudPano.com. Create 360 virtual tours, white label them with your own URL, add floor plans, dollhouses, upload to Google Street View. CloudPano.com is the #1 virtual tour platform. Get started today at CloudPano.com.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, because that sniper approach got me that one agent. That agent tells their friend. Then now I've got 2 agents, and then those 2 tell the people. Now I've got 4, and so on and so on. Now I have done in the past, I don't really push this much anymore, but I have done a deal in the past where if an agent brings me another agent, then they each get 20% off on their next job.
Nice. I like that.
And I have done that before, and it does produce some results, but I don't really need to do that anymore, so I don't really push that.
So you don't need to really push discounts because the word of mouth happens from a great quality product and a great quality turnaround. A fast turnaround. But that just creates a good experience. So they're almost like the Amazon effect. They're like, hey, you guys got to try this Voss Studios, bro. He's crushing. Okay, let me ask a question there real fast, because I want to know how you determine a moderate, you call it a moderate hitter. Are you looking on how much volume they're doing per month, like publicly somewhere? Like where do you determine that number?
I can go on to the MLS and see how many active listings they have, and I can look at their sold listings and stuff like that. If I see that they have, a decent number and that their photography could use some improvement, then they're a good candidate. They're somebody I'm going to want to call up.
So you'll be looking on, let's say it's HAR, is what we have here in Houston area, Associated Realtors. HAR.com's great site, it's a great resource. So you'll look on there, you'll build a list of 10, maybe 20 possible prospects that you think would be good fits, and you just try to email and call them about, hey, I want to take you to lunch. I'm trying to expand to Galveston. I'm just using Galveston as an example. I'd love to, grab your coffee real fast, show what we do, just kind of pitch on our services. I know you're probably really busy and you hit all the time, but we're the real deal. And we currently do this many listings a month or something like that. So what do you pitch? Are you kind of like pitch in that way? Is it a small list? Is it a big list? How are you typically?
This is a perfect task for your admin.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have done that in the past, I'll get her to go on, do what I talked about on HAR, and then give me a list of like maybe 10 or 15 people, and then I'll call them up. I'll call them one after the other.
Yep.
And if that doesn't work, then I might send them a text. Hey, I just tried calling you. Sorry, I missed you. Give me a ring sometime. I just want to talk to you about our photography services. And, it's like anything, I would say half the time it doesn't produce anything. But if you got 10 people and only 5 of them, said, yeah, let's do it. Then, and then of those 5, I get 2 that actually give us a shot. Then, like I said, those 2 become 4, and that 4 becomes 8, and so on. So that's how it
great.
Works.
You're thinking long term too, as well. Like it's just
this is all the long game. Yeah, this is like, if I was really trying to, get busy quick, I would probably have a flyer of some sort that I would drop off at an office that that lets people use me at a discount, maybe. I would never do that. Going back to that, by the way, I do every now and then get somebody that'll say, what's the best you can do? And I'll say, the best I can do is what's on my website. Like, our numbers are published, and they're like, you can't work with me at all. And I say, listen, we're a premium photography company. Like, if you want cheap, you can find cheap. There's always someone cheaper. Mm-hmm. But if you want premium, that's what we offer. But if I was just getting started, and let's say I don't even have any real estate photography experience, you're gonna have to do some for free. There's just no getting around it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably going to want to edit them yourself to save money.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do a flyer. I probably wouldn't do it for free personally. I would do like half off or something. I used to work for a guy. He was a you that um, so I was a youth minister a long time ago, a different life, and I worked for this pastor, and I worked with mostly underprivileged kids, and I wanted to take them to play paintball. And so I told them, like, listen, it's going to cost, I don't remember what it was, $20 a kid to play paintball for 4 hours or something like that. And we had the funds to pay for all these kids. But he said, no, Brandon, you need them to invest in this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's $1, have them give you $1. They need to feel some ownership over what they're doing.
Yeah.
And relating that to photography, I would never just give away a free shoot. I would rather them invest in it in something. It might be $20. It might be,
Yeah.
you need to make something. They need to pay something to get what you're doing. And hopefully you do good work, and people keep coming back to you.
That's right. Yeah. If those who pay attention, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Across the board, we see that all the time. Some folks beg something for free. They beg for it, and they end up doing nothing with it whenever they get it. Okay, cool. So mostly when it comes to new customer acquisition, you have a sniper approach. It's not really like advertising on Google or even flyers you may do to an office with a special rate or something like that. But the reality is like you're kind of like pick who you want to target. You try to find the good leads based on what volume you're seeing, based on the public information, public data. Okay, cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the best approach, because going to offices for me just traditionally hasn't produced a lot of fruit. You
Yeah.
know.
Interesting. Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, especially you have to figure out what produces fruit for you and what makes sense, and then like just go talk their language. Especially in I think your kind of market, like they kind of know what they're looking for. It's not like rocket science where you're going to be making something extra different, special. They just need a great listing. That's what they need, right?
Sure. Yeah. In their mind, they're like, do you take good pictures? Okay. Well, I got good pictures now. Why are you better?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, well, and I used to go with the if our photos are just a lot better. Well, they don't really care about that.
So what do they care
Like,
about?
so the thing that seems to get them is the convenience factor. They can get on at 3 o'clock in the morning and place an order.
Nice.
Um, they like that they get it. Of course, they love that they get it the next day, the next morning. They're going to have
Nice.
their stuff back, and then
Important.
they love our backend system provides property websites and a flyer design tool. They don't often use those things, but they like knowing that we provide that. It just makes us look nice, I think. So,
Nice.
but when you add all of that together, that's really what seems to do the trick for us.
Cool.
Having the
So
best photos is just, icing.
yeah. Okay. So that's very interesting that you say that, right? Because I'm sure a lot of folks think if I just have really good photos, I'll get a lot of work, and it's just not the
Sure.
reality. You have to kind of talk the language
I
of
mean, it
what's
needs to be
important to them.
good. Like, going
Sure.
back to what I said, if you do good work, and then, you will succeed, I think. But you can't just focus on that alone. Like,
Yeah.
you got to be able to offer something above just having good photos.
The service factor is a big deal. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's really great. I was going to ask you a question, but I'm losing it right now in my mind. Oh, you talk about the long game. Okay. This is, I think,
Yes.
super important. I mean, I think maybe the most important thing anybody could say about any market, right? The long game. Do you have a number, let's say annually, in your mind for, let's call them a mid hitter. Let's call them a moderate hitter. Okay. I don't know.
Sure.
I like that phrase. I'm going to use it for like the lifetime value of that customer to you. Like if I can get that first listing, we do a really good job. they're going to come back all year long. And I mean, if they do, which they probably will, what are they worth to you in a year?
So that's a good question. So I keep track at any given time. I can tell you my top 10 um, agents and what they've spent, what they're worth to me in a year.
Okay.
My top one is usually around 75,000.
Okay.
But I would say a moderate hitter, if they're doing, we'll call it 3 listings a month. So we'll just say 200 times 3 times 12, that's 7,200.
Yeah.
So I would say the mid moderate, hitter, they're, 7 to 10,000 probably.
Okay.
And that's why, you know, it's important to think of that. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the lessons that I had to explain to photographers that work for me early on and to the admin is listen, it may feel like it's just one job, like, oh, you just screwed up on just one job.
Mm-hmm.
But if we lose that agent, and it only takes, I mean, we're on thin ice with everybody, I feel like, and because our market is saturated with real estate photographers.
Yeah.
There are so many out there. They're a dime a dozen. They're around every corner.
Mm-hmm.
In Houston. With that said, if you mess up just a little bit, like that's like taking $10,000 out of my pocket, give or take.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I tell my photographers, show up early to your listing. You know, look decent. I'll never forget one time I had an agent call me up and said, "Hey, your guy just left, and I just thought you should know he looked like he was the yard guy." And I was like, that's when I decided we needed a company shirt. And
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
yeah, so we started doing like embroidered polos at that point. So
Yeah. Nice.
yeah.
It's those things come from a story always, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, we're getting y'all shirts.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. So, okay. So, I mean, let's do some quick math, just for my own sake here. I'm pulling up my own calculator as well, too, because I think it's just important people know. When you think long term, you think the long game, he used the number 200. So I'm going to use that number too. And if you do have 200 listings a month, okay, that is $40,000 a month we're talking about. And that's not, you're at AOVs at 220. Okay. That's pretty high gross receipts, right? What kind of margins, like what's the net profit for the year? What's really like, is it really taken in for like a month? And I know you have a lot of overhead. I'm not pretending like you don't, but like I tell everybody in my business, like I get paid last, right? I pay my
Sure.
team, I pay my search market,
Yeah.
I pay everyone first. I get
Yep.
paid last. What's that really look like when you're running an operation like this? I mean, on a good month, bad month, wintertime, summertime, maybe.
So that's a good question. Like in the summer, when things are pretty hot, you're talking net, not gross, right? Like what's the take home?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So the take home could be, like I said, if I have a photographer that's making 1,000 a week, if I have, two that are making 1,000 a week, and then two that are making half that, so that's another 1,000. So that's 3,000 that I've spent, and that means that I made about 3,000 a week.
Yeah.
Multiply that by 4, that gives you a rough idea on a decent month. And there are some months they make, I've had photographers, it's not unheard of to make 2,000 in a week.
Yeah.
So it can be pretty lucrative. You're looking at around maybe conservatively at the volume that we do, 200 to 300 a year, salary type, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Um, Of course, month to month, it's like a roller coaster. You might have a really
Sure.
good one. It might have a slow one.
Sure.
But
And
like
then
I said,
so,
because of the volume we do, if I have a slow month, it's still not going to be terrible.
of course, because you're not, it's like you're going to, yeah, you're not, you lose a client, lose a few clients, no big deal because you got like two more waiting down the road. So then
Exactly.
gross receipts per month in the summer is like 50K during the summer, or is it more? Like winter time, is it like 30K, something like that? Like, I'm trying to figure out this rough numbers.
Right,
That
right.
sound right? Or
Yeah, that's about right.
okay,
Yeah, in the winter, 36 is not 36K gross, like
yeah,
and then and then I might spend in the summer it might be closer to like 50, 60 a
mm-hmm.
month. And then the editors might be anywhere from like 6,000 to 8,000 a month. And
Oh
then
wow,
you've got yeah, because when you're doing that many jobs at roughly $1 an image, I mean
yeah,
that stacks up pretty quick.
yeah, makes sense. It's a lot of photos. Thank you for listening to this episode. To get an automatic notification of our next podcast episode, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a positive review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you enjoy your podcast listening. Thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you. Keep hustling, and I'll see you in the next episode.